So today I'm going to be going over Nocturnal Fudj's video, The Competitive Failings of Smash Ultimate, from a different perspective. You know, Fudj obviously doesn't play Ultimate anymore. He loved Smash 4, which we'll get into, I guess, in the beginning of the video. And before I get started, I just want to say, don't go throw hate at him. This is not the point. He made a very contentious video. He's gotten a ton of hate already. Don't add to that. I'm not trashing him. I'm not trashing the video. It's a very good video, but I want to just talk about it as someone that is a competitor, that is a very top-level competitor, and talk about a few of the differences between his perspective and what I feel. And I'm not saying either is right necessarily, it's just we have different perspectives, so let's get into it. Also, I'm obviously responding to every point in the video, but in order to not basically have his entire video in my video, I will be cutting it up and putting main points that I'm going to be referring to on the screen before I talk. So please, if you want to watch the full video, go check it out in the description below, but be respectful. I do want to go over the buffer system in a couple minutes because I do think it changed, because there was a patch. This was one of my least favorite things about Ultimate, and then they patched it so it doesn't happen nearly as bad anymore. I don't know how recent any of these videos were, Fudj. They did patch something, like you don't get random rolls and stuff anymore, at least to the same degree.
Ultimate chooses which buffered action it performs via this thing called the order of priority. Probably infer from the name, this is a list of actions that you can buffer in order of priority. But here's the weird part. Chilling out right at the very top of the order of priority list is short hop aerial. Okay, so I'm going to explain this again just in case people didn't understand that. So if you were to hit every single input when trying to buffer something, it will come out in this order. It's not the order in which you press it, it is which order of this. So if you're grounded, it is the short hop aerial into an item throw, into something like a roll or spot dodge, and then a grab. Then shield would pop up, special, blah, 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 blah. And the character's airborne does the same thing. So it's very much explaining what will come out first, so that if you're mashing, you won't get, like... I feel like the reason they did that is because if you're, like, mashing every button, if you're literally a button masher, you're not just gonna get, like, rolls all the time. Right? It means you can't buffer full hop aerials. That's correct. Not only can you not full hop aerial, you have to be in the air for 1 frame before you do your aerial. I don't know how much it is, but it's very precise as is, and now the game is demanding even more from you. And this is where I will critique it. So, I don't understand the difference between something being skill intensive and cool as opposed to just dealing with the function of the game. Like, I understand it's difficult, but at the same time, it's the same thing as timing a combo, like in general. Like, if you were to play a traditional fighting game, you can't do something incredibly quickly and expect it all to happen. Like, you have to time your inputs. I mean, again, with some leniency because there is a buffer system, but you can do down tilt, buffer full hop. I know it's going to come out now, and then do your aerial. That's kind of like a big deal for me, is it's like, okay, well, you have to be precise. It's the difference between doing a, you know, it's the same thing as doing a delayed short hop aerial. And like, that kind of makes sense. And again, especially the wording of this game, or the wording of the video, is the competitive failings of Smash Ultimate. You should be seeking all this information out and then just getting better at it anyway, because, like, why are you trying to buffer full hop aerials? Like, full hop rising aerials aren't super great in this game in the first place, and either way, you just have to time it slightly better, which is kind of like a skill check, so it's not just people are able to do incredibly easy combos all the time, which is kind of one of the things that people are complaining about in a lot of, like, newer fighting games, is that it's like, oh, everything's too easy, and people are just able to do everything, and there's no, like, skill checks anymore. It's like, okay, well, here's one. It's like, but not that one. I get that you are coming from this from a Smash 4 perspective, and I respect that, and I kind of understand why you're coming at it from that perspective, and to go back and forth between this game has a buffer system and I have to do, like, in Brawl, in order to do full hop nair, I just had to hit jump, I had to hold jump and then hit the A button and it would come out. Whereas in Melee, if you do that, your aerial won't come out. So I constantly had to be precise and then not precise at certain times to make my life easier. So it's kind of just the same thing, and like playing all these different Smash games and a bunch of different fighting games, it's one of those things that I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, like, whatever. Again, make it toggleable, yeah, totally, for sure. Like, he brings that up in a little bit, and I'm totally down with that. I would never turn that on because I use attack canceling too much, which again, he talks about in a little bit. Like, you had to have tilt stick in order to do short hop buffer aerials. So in this game, it's just like they swapped short hop aerials, or like now short hop aerials are easier and full hop aerials are harder. So, you know, the only instance where it affects this is if you're doing a buffered full hop aerial. So if you're jumping and then going to do an aerial, obviously it's fine and it doesn't really matter. And if you're doing instant full hop rising aerials to juggle people, you're probably doing it wrong. Like, that's not how you're supposed to be doing that. That's more like a situation where you want to, like, dash back and then dash forward to hit their landing aerial or, like, parry whatever they're gonna do. Smash Ultimate is on a totally different... Like, that's a valid point. Like, that's for sure a valid point. It's like,
It definitely, I understand like wanting it to be consistent, obviously, but to me, things like the short hop aerial stuff aren't inconsistent. Like, oh, like it literally makes sense if you think about the game's design. And so, like, if it makes sense, you're like, yeah, but I don't like it. It's like, that's fair not to like it, but it's not a failing, it's just not your preference. And granted, there's a decent amount of people that have this preference, but also there's a people that have a preference of they hate Smash Ultimate, or they love Smash Ultimate, or they love Melee, or they hate Smash in general. Like, that's not like a failing of it, that's just a, you know, your personal, like, wants of a fighting game. You time it correctly, and you don't try to buffer full hop aerials. Why are you trying to buffer full hop aerials when you know you can't? The argument could be made that it's just different and not inconsistent, I suppose. But I do personally feel like it's a massively unintuitive design decision because of how differently it functions to the rest of the systems. I don't agree, personally. Like, it would make sense that you can't buffer two entirely different inputs in the first place. Like, you couldn't buffer full hop aerials in Smash 4, technically. You had to buffer your full hop and then during the jump do your aerial. So you still had to time it in a specific way. Now you just do it a frame later. Like, I get that it overrides the full hop aerial, but at the same time, just time it like you have to do with a bunch of other different stuff. I don't see like it's a flaw in design. It's like, cool. And again, like, if it was about the more casual people of like, why the fuck is this thing coming out? I don't understand what's happening in this game because I'm holding jump, which is supposed to give you full hop, and then doing an aerial and I'm getting short hop aerial. What the hell? But if you are a competitor and you are like actively seeking out this information and trying to get better, I don't find that this information being present makes it bad. It's just like, okay, something to know, and then you learn how to do your full hop aerials correctly. Because again, I had to learn how to do full hop aerials differently from Melee to Brawl to Smash 4, so I had to learn it again for Ultimate. I don't understand what the problem is. It's just a different Smash game. You can't view one game through the lens of a different game, if that makes sense. Like, the worst way, by far, like the beginning of the game, it was so bad. Because what would happen was you would do air dodge and then tap right. Like, you would be air dodging to the left. Like, what would happen is you would literally do this. You'd be like left and then roll and then go to the right, and you would roll there. So air dodge, hold left, or tap left. Like, the thing is, you'd be able to tap it. So like, this makes sense. Like, doing it there, in my opinion, makes sense because you're just buffering roll. But like, why are you holding forward? You don't have to do it anymore. Like, before, you would literally go like air dodge and then hit it again, and then it would happen immediately. That's what changed. So it doesn't hold the roll input, it just holds the shield input because you let go of roll. Of course, if you keep holding it, you're gonna do it because you're buffering the roll input. So you land and it goes, cool, what are you doing? R and forward, roll. Like, that makes sense. Every time I do a fastball air dodge, like, I let go of the stick. Or like, I want to roll. But like, I just let go. Or again, you can do the B thing, which I know you mentioned a little bit. It's like, you can do things to get around a bunch of the stuff, but why do you have to? It's like, because you're a competitor and you don't want to mess up. Like, do you know how many times I'm getting rapid jabbed and then I hold B to like buffer my SDI? Because that's just the better way to do it. You can't roll or do spot dodge if you're holding special or a second shield button, right? If like an Inkling is like rapid jabbing your shield, you'll actually get your frame 1 invincible roll thing after the 11 hits, which is a different mechanic, even if you're holding B. So you can literally do this, and then if you get your roll, you get your roll, and if not, like, you just drop shield and punish. Why would you want to keep holding that direction in the first place? I don't agree with that statement. Because like, you can just let go. Like, there are so many times I've gone like, I've done like fastball air, just like here. Whoops, that was directional. And I get nothing. And I'm ready. So like, you having to be more precise with your inputs, to me, isn't Ultimate's bad. It's just Ultimate is different. I always let go of my buttons because I want to be as precise as possible. Like, it's the same thing if people like, if they're like, want to do something and they're mashing whatever they're doing during hit stunts, like, yeah, of course you're going to get rolled because you're mashing inputs and you're not being precise. Like, I almost never do more than one input equals what I'm trying to do. I always say one. I'm speaking from a competitive standpoint of do things the best way you can. And you're like, but it's stupid. It's like, it doesn't, well, like, one, I don't agree, but two, it doesn't matter if something's stupid, because as a competitor, you're going to do it. And it's not like it's difficult to do any of these things. Like, I so infrequently get like buffered rolls and buffered spot dodges anymore that I don't want because they patched it. It's just, you gotta learn how the game handles. Like, Marvel Infinite is different than Marvel 3, which was different than Marvel 2, and Street Fighter 5 is vastly different than Street Fighter 4, which was different than Third Strike, which was different than 2 Alpha. Like, you have to learn the new mechanics, you have to learn how the game functions. You can't expect it to just be like the other games, because it's not. It's a new game. Which a bunch of things from the other games, but sure, you have a couple things that are different, and so you learned them. You don't try to do the old one. Like, you know, of course, at the beginning of the game, a lot of people had trouble falling through platforms. A lot of people had trouble turning around grabbing. But, like, that's just because shield drop is 11 frames instead of 6. So people were doing it too fast, so they were getting that, as opposed to just doing it a little slower. And then same thing with crouching through platforms. People, but like also for the platform one in particular, it was kind of interesting because like, yeah, it is somewhat difficult to go through platforms, like if you're like air dodging and you're trying to like do that. But again, time it. Like I don't understand why that should be buffered, or you can just hold forward a little bit and, you know, like for a frame, you like walk. Well, another thing I think that's worth mentioning is that I view it as a competitive failing because it's very clear that the design intention is to make the game more accessible on every level. Instead, you actually have to learn and know more about the inner mechanics to understand what's going on a lot of the time. And that's valid, but that has nothing to do with competition. I don't care of the perspective of these people's games or like understanding how simple it is for them to play it if they're playing with items on random stages. I'm a competitor. You should be learning matchups. You need to be learning counterplay. You need to learn how many hits of Pikachu's forward air are there, which is 6, by the way. So why does it matter that you have to learn a little bit of things that, like, even if it seems like awkward, it's like, okay, every fighting game is awkward in some way, so you just do it anyway. And again, I'm not saying that in terms of like, oh, casual, but like, I'm not viewing the game as a casual. Like, people are like, oh my god, ESAM, could you ever make a tier list about people in like mid-level? And I'm like, no, because I don't know what people value.
The game decides which aerial you perform, not based on the direction that your directional stick was facing when you buffered the move, but on the direction that your directional stick was facing when...
This is a valid critique. I think that is very unintuitive. And it's weird that you have to do very slow. But granted, again, it's weird because no other games, you couldn't buffer short hop aerials in other games. Unless you were buffering jump and then aerial, so it's a little different. You know, like, this one's fair. Like, this one, I think, is, like, a lot more fair. Again, like, I think a lot of your points are, like, valid, but, like, you take it too far. And again, calling something a failing is, like, pretty big language. It's not like, things I don't like about Ultimate, which would be fair. You're like, huh, this is kind of weird. It's like, this is a failure. It's like, no, it's not. Like, back off.
Position, and regardless of which direction they push on the C-stick, they get given neutral air. This is why a lot of people complain about accidental and misinput neutral airs in this game, and
so that actually has nothing to do with it. I actually don't understand this point at all. Because like getting neutral air is specifically when you're buffering something out of like landing. You should never ever nair with C-stick. That's like hard. Like you need to like up in order to get it. Because like it's literally this. Like, you have to be buffering it, like, hard. But, like, you can just wait. Like, if you wait, or you do a short hop and then an aerial, like, in a normal timing, that won't happen. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to me to get nair with a C-stick. Like, you have to be trying. Because, like, are you not moving on the ground at all? Like, it'll never happen out of shield. It will never happen out of shield. I've never unintentionally naired, except on like Wi-Fi because it eats my inputs. Like if you are literally doing things so fast to the point where you're getting nair, like you're mashing. Like I've never been around anyone at like mid-level, low-level that's like, I always get nair. It's like, okay, you need to slow down. Like I agree with this. I agree with the general consensus. I just don't agree with the nair point. Like I think this is stupid. Even if it makes attack canceling, which is sick. Like something you could have brought up that I think would have been a much better point, if you do a short hop forward, aerial, or back air, you move forward or back even if you're not holding the C-stick. Like all these short hop aerials that Armada's doing, he's literally like he's neutral on the stick and going jump forward and you move forward or backwards. That's annoying because it's spacing for you and that can cause a lot of problems.
To just give us the ability to turn it off. This would be huge for the game's buffer system and general feel.
I agree. I mean, toggles for everything are better.
To help create attack cancelling, which is a pretty cool tech.
Attack cancelling, sick. I love it.
Things are problems, but you can just get used to them. And you know what? They'd be right. I could just get used to them. I could get used to having a peg leg.
That's just a fundamental difference in perspectives, because he is saying, yeah, like you could get used to it, but why would you want to? It's like you're playing this game competitively. If you are playing a game competitively, you have to get used to everything that a game has. Or, I mean, I know you like making jokes. I know that's clearly hyperbole. Like, I'm not stupid. If you are playing a game competitively, you have to get used to the mechanics of said game, or you're constantly going to be bitching about it. Which, by the way, is why a lot of people that love Smash 4 still aren't good at Ultimate, is because they still want it to be Smash 4 when it's not Smash 4. And no offense, that's kind of talking about you, but I was more so talking about people that are like Charlie. Like, the minute Charlie stopped being like, oh my god, I wish it was Smash 4, he literally instantly got better. Like, woo, he rose up because he's like, fine, I'm playing Ultimate now. Like, all of these issues can basically get resolved by practicing. Like, I got a ton of incorrect things when I was playing Snake at first, and then I'm like, okay, Snake's up tilt has 9 years of hit stun, so I just know how long the hit stun is, and so I punish it. But you have to do that in Melee for knowing when to shield drop certain moves, or when to do your add a shield options for certain moves. And it's how people, like, in Melee, you have to know how many hits, if you're a Fox player, you have to know how many hits of your down air is going to hit, because if you miscount by 1, you're going to miss your auto cancel. Or not auto cancel, L cancel. That's stupid. It has like 7 hits. There's SDI, you might miss hits because of SDI, and you're gonna miss your L cancel, drop your combo because of randomness or things you literally cannot react to. Whereas all the problems, every single mechanical problem in Ultimate can basically be like, okay, just practice, and you can get better at it. Which is my biggest problem, is all of these things you can just literally practice and get better. If this was like the design failings of Smash Ultimate, that would be fine. But again, competitive failings, it's like, as competitors, we're pushing the game to its absolute limits. We are doing as much as possible as we can do in this type of game. Like, it's consistent. You literally know when that's gonna happen. Walk forward for a frame. Stop holding down, and then hold down later. Like, it's fine. That's me. I lose this set, but that's okay. And again, this isn't like to give this video like, it is a good video, and he brings up a lot of good points even if I disagree with them. So like, don't be an asshole to him.
It's been a problem in every Smash game. It was...
Not only is it every Smash game, it's every fighting game. Cool. I want to see neutral.
Alright, the rush down is in place. Fudj placing his bullets nice and safely because King Blue River could kick.
Interactive gameplay. I played against Chris G. That shit sucked. Like, every single fighting game. In order to design good characters, you either have to make a bunch of moves good, which means that they have relatively no weaknesses, or you go, they have a couple things that have counterplay, but if you don't know the counterplay, you're going to get rocked. 40% of his neutral is this, and then, of course, movement, but like, the button he uses is that one. Street Fighter 4, you had Viper just spam her, like, charge thing because you didn't know if she was going to do an uppercut, a forward cut, or a seismo. So, like, you just had to be like, I guess. That happens in every fighting game. So, I know you literally say, yeah, this isn't like a Smash Ultimate specific problem, but again, this video is about Smash Ultimate, so you could have just not put this in. Because also, again, Ultimate is the best design game for Smash in terms of balance, period. By like a lot.
It wouldn't seem so boring and one-dimensional if the meta was shifting a little more often, and we regularly...
But like, you're talking about the meta being one-dimensional and very obvious when almost every single top 8 for the past like 6 months, assuming before quarantine stuff, had like 8 different characters in top 8. Like Frostbite was Joker, Game & Watch, Trainer / Wario. There was a Sonic, there was a Young Link, there was Zachary, who was Rob / Joker. Oh yeah, T got 4th, so Pac-Man. And Dabuz, so Olimar / Rosa. So like, there was like 8 different characters. There's 8 different characters in like every single top 8. Genesis had 0 repeats. There's 8 people. There's 8 characters every top 8. This is like a super. This is just an incorrect point.
Centralized as a majority of the others.
So that is a very good point. But you literally at the very end of that section basically invalidate everything else that you talked about. Because if you made every character's recovery good, if you made every character's disadvantage good, you would be playing the same character every single time. One of the best things about Ultimate is that almost every single character feels entirely unique. Pikachu does not, like even characters that are supposed to be the same. Marth does not feel anything like Lucina. Roy does not feel anything like Chrom. You know, Sheikah's got buffed from low tier to high tier / almost top tier. Young Link was mid tier, went to high tier. Samus went from like low tier / low mid tier to like high tier or top tier. And a lot of these characters play incredibly different. They have a ton of different stuff. And like, you can't do that. Like, that doesn't work like that. You can't have 80 characters be entirely unique and different. You want to change that to make them better because you want them to be better, which means that more low tier characters will be more like the high tier characters. That Joker's animation, some of Joker's animations or Hero's animations, I don't remember which one it was like, oh my god, these animations are ripped from other sword characters. Can you believe that? Look, his dash attack is this, his down tilt is this. It's like, okay. And Fudj, there can be in-betweens. You're not wrong. But not with 80 characters. That's too many characters. There's already 65 viable characters in this game. Why do you want the 15 bad ones to be good unless you particularly like them? I mean, I will agree with Leffen on this point. It is so much more obnoxious to know all of these matchups than it is to know the 8 matchups in Melee. I feel like you could have potentially said something good here, and you just didn't. And then you contradicted all of it in the last sentence of the section. And then you talk about Charizard. Really quick, I hated the way Sheik was designed in Smash 4, because you literally felt like you had to gimmick her, because she was better than you in every other situation. If you were playing against Sheik as everyone that's not like one or two characters, like Pika was okay because Pika had good neutral and T-Jolt, like maybe Cloud, like it was like, okay, cool, you have to get lucky. Sheik versus Zero Suit was get lucky in this match or you lose. You have to rely on down throw upper upper up B. You have to rely on Nair flip kick or down smash at the ledge, because she's just better than you in every other way. The actual best designed top tier, and most people didn't play this game so it's fine, was Brawl Marth, because Brawl Marth had really strong tools, but a lot of the situations he put you in were 50-50s. It wasn't like this move is blatantly safe, it's this move is safe because I have frame 1 up B, so you can't just grab me. You have to do something else, or you have to guess right. But the thing is, up B was a huge risk, because if they were wrong and they whiffed up B, then you would hit them with a weak move. They would have like landing lag, because that works in Brawl, and then you would punish them really big, or you get a smash attack, or you get whatever you want. Whereas Sheik, it was like, cool, my fair is like -4. Like Sheik, you had to get lucky in order to beat her, or you had to play a specific amount of characters. And also something like people are talking about, like, oh, like people are so one-buttony in this game. It's like Rosa Jab, Meta Knight down air, Ice Climbers Blizzard.
Counter picks and things stayed interesting, if not a bit.
Bayonetta Cloud. The only good player that picked up a random character was like Nairo, because he wanted to play Bowser for some reason. Tweak just played Bayo. He went DK versus specifically, I think, Ken or Leo. Like one player. He ended up just picking Bayo later in the game, and his Bayo was fine. So like, yeah, they picked up weird mid-tiers, but also you're saying, yeah, well, they picked up these mid-tiers that you then complained about having one-dimensional strategies such as Palutena Nair or Grab. So which one is it? Like, you can't have both. You can't be like, yeah, I wish people would pick up these very one-dimensionally strong characters for counter picks, but also having one-dimensional characters. It's like, huh?
Stick in the hopes that you'll drift into him with your aerial of choice.
So again, this is, I would agree, a weird design thing, but again, you can just, I mean, most characters are going to punish, like specifically with this, they're going to punish with like forward air, but also, it's one of those things that you just know, like Pika's dash attack has a ton of shield stun, Snake's up tilt has a ton of shield stun, random moves have a ton of shield stun, you just have to know that and get used to it. Not every move's going to have a universal amount of shield stun, and that wasn't even the same in other games too, like you had to respect moves the same amount. So I don't see why this in particular is an issue. Because it's, again, if you're a competitor, it's like, cool, memorize things. Again, I think it's just, hey, know that Snake's up tilt does this thing. But I'm trying to be respectful. I'm just saying you're wrong, which is fine, because that's kind of the point.
In this game, which is something that people seem to dislike quite a lot. A lot of people...
I will agree that parrying could be a little better on projectiles. I don't want him to reflect, because I think that would be really stupid. I just think it should have, like, 0 parry effect. You should just be able to dash forward regardless of the projectile, regardless of how strong it is. But also, the reason that Rob and Pac-Man are good now isn't because of their projectiles, it's because they have really, really good buttons. So you get into them and then they fight you like a high tier. Like, they fight like high tiers and then they camp. Like, Pac-Man has the best ground control in the game, and then also one of the best forward airs in the entire game, and Rob has the best down tilt in the entire game. So that's why they're good. It's not because parrying sucks.
Paced, sure, but I don't think that necessarily equals interesting or stylish.
Obviously, calling it stylish is very subjective. My biggest problem with this is you're just saying it's not Smash 4. Like, the biggest problem, which you didn't even bring up, with the not moving through shields is the fact that it causes a lot of incorrect interactions, like Bowser basically never being able to be standing grabbed because his like block is so weird and you just whiff his grab because you can't go through them because it pushes them back. There are a couple other problems with it, but in my opinion, as someone that played a slow character in Melee, I have a very unique perspective on this compared to a lot of people. Fluid dash dancing limits the metagame to who's fast, and that's it. In Melee, the only viable characters are characters that can dash dance and characters that have a gimmick that allows them to not worry about dash dancing, because you have Fox who can dash dance, Falco who has lasers, Sheik who has like platform camping back air stuff, Pikachu who dash dances, Marth who dash dances, Puff who's always in the air, Peach who's always in the air, Falcon who dash dances, Ice Climbers who grab you with zero and kill you. So if you have fluid dash dancing, you literally say, hey, all you slow characters, you're ass. Samus is not meta relevant. She is just under it, in my opinion. She's slow as She's really bad. She loses because people just dash dance in mid-range and she goes, I have to kind of forward tilt, and then you get punished for it because they crouch cancel and then kill you. Like, they don't have tools to deal with people just doing this in their face. So like, that's what happened with Melee, and that's one of the reasons I stopped liking it as much, is because if people dash dance camp, they just win against slow characters. So if you had the ability to dash dance camp in this game, every slow character would be bad.
On shield and space it as best you can and see what happens. Directional.
So there were definitely bigger differences between the top players of different characters, or top players of the same character. But the thing is, in Ultimate, there are huge gaps between the best and the next best player. And also, the game's only been out for a year and a half. Smash 4, by the time Void got good, it was like 3 years into the game. So they had 3 years to hone their craft. Whereas in this game, it's like, cool, we're still figuring out what's good, and then we can kind of break from it. But you know, the best Joker under Leo is Zachary, and if you watch both of them play, they play entirely different. The best Palutena under Nairo, Abadongo, is Abadongo PGR? I don't know. There's huge differences in style between Nico and Kome, who both play Shulk. The second best Pac-Man player is Shinji, who plays entirely different from T. The second best player of, who's another top tier? Wario. So like Kamame and Tweak and Gluto all play entirely differently in terms of Wario. So I think you just don't watch enough. MK Leo's Lucina, Proto Bantam's Lucina are very different. Mr. E's Lucina is very different from those as well. Dark Wizzy and Prodigy from Mario, they play entirely different. So I think that is like a pretty incorrect claim in terms of talking about Ultimate, but I do agree that Smash 4 had more, but again, that's just because the game was older. The longer the game went, the more varied they look. You know, Melee's been out for so long, which is why Falcos like Westballs and Albert and Mango all look different. Because they've had 10 years to hone what they want to do. And also, even Snakes look different. Like, MVD Snake and Salem Snake look different. So does Shogun's. Like, it's fine.
Consistently, and as a result, you see a lot less cool stuff, I think. Finally, Ultimate has...
So, again, I do kind of disagree with that point. I agree with the first part of, like, yeah, like Smash 4, if you read air dodge, it was in their head. But that happens even more in Ultimate. Because if you read a directional air dodge, you know where they want to go, and the fact that they wanted to directional air dodge versus neutral air dodge, like, you're God. Like, you're gonna tell me that... You saying that's not hype? I read his air dodge in, he could've neutral air dodged, he could've jumped. I made him panic. I think it's the same, it's just people are worse at it because people don't know how to combo and aren't good at advantage state in this game. Like, that happens a ton because people are still trying to get used to their own stuff, and no one labs like I do. So like, I'm going to have the best ones right now because I literally made that setup. I literally put that and I was like, hey, this works. I'm gonna do this to someone, and then I did it to Cosmos like the day after. So like, yeah, it's less common now because people are bad, not because of the game. People like me and people like Void aren't common. Like, we are the ones that will punish people for doing that. We will set up things to get longer combos with air dodges or get kills because of air dodges. And like, Leo even does it with like side B 1, 2, 3, like up smash. He did that to me at Summit because he knew I was gonna air dodge in. It's the same thing with me doing my up smash read on jab block. Like, people do it all the time. It's just not as common because it's harder, which I think is fine. Like, I think directional air dodge is like really good. Plus, considering how much lag they all have, it's like if Cosmos were to say air dodge away in that situation in the combo that I was doing, then I just like go off stage and kill him for it. Sure, it's less consistent, but like, okay, you have to have like a more varied understanding of your advantage state, and you have to understand how to hit people when they air dodge. You have to have reads for that. And there's so much lag on everything that it's still definitely possible. Like, I have frame traps on like, oh, I did this thing and it didn't work and they directionally air dodged or they neutral air dodged. Cool, I'm gonna dash attack. Like, I have those set up, I have those fail safes. People not doing it isn't the fault of the game. It's because people are playing too safe or don't understand or like haven't labbed enough because the game is still young.
Bury you, a mechanic that basically forces you to
You're right. This is 100% correct.
This is online.
I'm not gonna comment on online. Like, everyone knows the problems with online. Get a LAN adapter, try to play with someone close to you. I'm not going to critique him for this. Because, like, online isn't great. Again, it is a good video. I do think that his points are valid from a different perspective than a competitor. And the title of the video is the competitive failings of Smash Ultimate. Like, I think it's a great video. I think he really thought about his points. As a competitor, I have a different point of view. So again, if you've watched this whole video and his whole video, don't give him hate. That's kind of pointless. You're allowed to not like a game. That's fine. You're allowed to think it's not what you want. You're allowed to get frustrated at it. I mean, I know a lot of people get frustrated at Ultimate, and that's, like, fair. Like, there are things to get frustrated about, but I don't think that calling frustrations failures is fair. And you even said you weren't clickbaiting, so it's not even like you're like saying these things to get clicks, which would be totally valid and I wouldn't be mad at you. I think characters are more diverse than you are putting it as someone that has played against multiple different top players of different characters. Like, I've played against Zachary's Joker, and I've played against Leo's Joker, and they feel entirely different. I've played against Jen and Nairo, I've played against Kome and Nico, and they play entirely differently. So, like, I know that I'm correct on that, and I don't blame you for not seeing it, because sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you need a really high understanding of a character in order to get that, and that's fair. Like, I do think a lot of your opinions are biased on Smash 4, clearly, and that's not even an insult, that's not even, like, a jump of logic, because you compare it to, like, perfect pivoting and stuff like that. Ultimate's not your favorite Smash game, and that's fair, but calling all of these things, which are completely reasonable and understandable, except for very few things, which one of them you didn't even mention with the thing, like interactions on Shield not working. Like, a couple things were correct, but I don't feel like overall the critique is failings. It's like, okay, just get better. Like, a lot of these things are just get better. I know you're not being like Smash 4 is better. Like, you're saying clearly Smash 4 felt better to play sometimes, and like, at the beginning, I wouldn't have disagreed with you, because at the beginning I was frustrated at the weird buffer system, and like all the things you mentioned. But then, like, month 3 of the game happened, and I was like, okay, like, these aren't happening anymore. And then they patched the roll thing. Because, like, I lost a set to that. Like, do you know I lost to Louis Money at Frostbite because I landed on the ground with a fastball air dodge and then spot dodge. And he read my spot dodge with up smash, and I didn't want to. I wanted to shield. I would have add a shield, up smashed, or dash attacked him, I would have won the set. But I didn't, because I messed up. And you know what? Because of that, I said, okay, I'm going to be way more careful with how I land with air dodges, because I don't want to buffer spot dodge. That's basically the end of the video. The phrasing in the video and the title of the video seem very objective, and they're not. They're very not. Like, obviously it is your opinion, but titles like this and phrasing of stuff is, like, very important in my opinion, which is why Leffen has created, like, a lot more controversy in the scene, is because he speaks very objectively and very, I know what I'm talking about, and then if any top player's like, hey, that's not how that works, he, like, ignores them or blocks them. Like, I do think there needs to be more discussion about stuff, but also everyone takes any negative thing and, like, this is the worst thing ever, like the buffer footstool, or the footstool having invincibility thing that, like, Gamer made a video about. Like, Riddles tweets about that, like, every 2 weeks, and he's like, oh my god, how could Nintendo be so stupid? It's like, fuck off. Like, they made it for a reason. But yeah, that's gonna be about it. And I am, I think, 30-ish subs away from my new sub goal, where I am going to dye my beard.